Okay, so question is to get things going. What would you rather have? A pause button where you could pause any moment of your life, or a rewind button so you could go back and redo anything in your life? So you would have the pause button, you could stop anything. What would you rather have?
See, I was going to say rewind at first because then you could go back and make up any mistake that you ever made. But in a way, it's the mistakes you make that sort of make you into the person you are. So I might say pause, because if you pause things, then you can prevent something.
You realizing how dangerous I would be with a pause button?
Oh, well, say there. No, there's been movies made about it.
There would have to be rules.
Yeah.
Or that.
Yeah.
Or that could be like, let's go to the beach.
What could it be?
Pause.
What could it be like? You can pause it, but you can't like.
Yeah, I'm a dirty old man.
You can't like interfere. Like what? I don't want to say interfere, but like.
It is forbidden. What is the thing when Superman was going backwards? When he made the plan to go around to mess with the Earth's.
No, but like, say that you see like yourself in like you see somebody who's in a perilous situation. Think you could pause the moment and rescue them, or something like that.
That would be pretty cool.
Like that's my thinking of it.
Or you could see somebody that is a real ass and not.
just shove up.
Just pause it so you can watch it happen. All right, crazy. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural episode of Rockers, Freaks, and Geeks with Brett the Tank Downey. And my guest star today, who you know from the World Ring Wars channel, is my
and if you don't, you just know
son, and who I'm sure you see at Wally's shop all the time. Master Hunter Downey, Crazy H himself, who's going to be what he's going to be doing. He's going to be asking me your questions.
Yes,
has you have welcome to the Pop Culture Palace in Western Maryland, where we film all of our YouTube videos for the Toy Channel and the Nerd and Pop Culture Channel. So this is something I've been wanting to do for several years now, is to do like a sort of type of podcast type of thing, have guests. I tried a little bit on the other channel. I had D on one time, and a couple other different times I had different friends on and would ask some questions and stuff like that. So this would be a, something that's I've been in on my mind back since the MySpace days. So it's been that long that I've had this idea. So so we're going to see what happens. And by Rockers, Freaking Geeks, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's going to be people on here that are definitely rockers. There's going to be people on here that's a little freaky. And there's definitely going to be some geeks on here like us too.
Yes.
Who I can talk about just about everything. There's no subject off the board here. Anything. If you're coming to a channel looking for a spectacular cinematography and beautiful editing and all of this, is not the place. Most of these are going to be doing one-shot wonders, a few fun things thrown in there and I'm going to keep it as real as I possibly can for this. So I thought I'd just start out before you got into questions, just a little bit about me, because there's some people who like know me from growing up. And there's Tori. She'll be a guest from time to time. I'm sure we'll hear her in here. But I thought I'd talk about a little bit of background for those that didn't know me. And some of you may know me. But I grew up in Westernport, Maryland. I was one of three children. I was the youngest. My dad worked for Westvaco for like 44 years, and I retired from there. Him and my mom have both passed. I miss them greatly. And I had a brother who was in law enforcement that was older than me, and he has also passed. So it's just me and my sister nowadays. So most of the time we have like gatherings and stuff. She comes out a couple times a month and hangs out. So that's really good. So it's still, still got a little bit of family around, got some aunts and cousins and stuff that I keep contact with on social media. But grew up, I was in the last graduating class of Bruce High School. Was in all kinds of stuff there. Played football. Got big into powerlifting and weightlifting in general, all through my middle school, high school, college. To this day, still work out. I used to do a lot of crazy, heavy powerlifting stuff. Toyed with strongman for a while. So, don't judge the book by its cover, in other words, because, I used to do some crazy stuff. Also, got into music relatively young and have been into it and been performing in bands since I was 16. I did theater when I was a kid, and all through high school and college, was in choirs. Did a little bit of everything, and really miss acting. It'd be fun to try it again someday, but that was a good time. I used to enjoy that a lot. But yeah, just if you guys know Westernport, it's pretty laid back town community, one of the ones where everybody knows everybody else and everybody's business and all that sort of thing. So, that's the type of upbringing I had. So yeah, it's been pretty cool. So far, everything's, you have, how life is. You have your ups and your downs, good things, bad things happen, things you love, things you hate, and, a little bit of all. Hunter's my only kid. My second marriage with my wife, Casey. Couldn't have made a better wife if you had to put all the ingredients in a blender and say, oh, okay, I'm going to make the perfect wife. I got it. So I, could never complain about how awesome she's been in both of our lives. Still get along great with his mom. And yeah, and I'm all about, friends, family, that sort of thing. And been into the collection and nerdom pretty well my whole life. Got bigger into it when he came into the picture, but I'd already started being into it some back when I worked retail. And job-wise, I worked retail for years in electronics. And then I worked for IBM for a few years. And then I did my last stint before I stopped working for medical reasons. As a youth minister. So I really loved working with kids. I think that was my true calling and what I should have done. But, hindsight thing, but definitely liked working with kids. But, love cats, love animals. What else? What am I leaving out? You're my blue.
No, you've covered a lot of the bases. It's hard to...
I was trying to do this in like a 5-minute thing. I'm sure as I go through doing these things, plenty of that and plenty of other things will come up. So we'll go from there. So what I did, I figured make this the get to know me type episode. I asked people online, what would you like? What kind of questions would you like me to answer? And, I threw them all out there. Got a lot of people in my music community. Those don't know, I'm in a band called Hellfire Empire. We're a rock band. Been together like 4 years now. So got quite a few of those type of questions in here. I've been singing since I was, in bands since I was like 16. So yeah, it's been a while. I'm 55 now, so, and feeling it. But so I put it out there. What kind of questions do you like? And we got a little bit of everything here. So I brought Hunter here so he could help me just, do the Q&A thing, so it'd be easier for me than fooling around with paper and that sort of thing. So I'll get a drink here and you can see what the question number one, who asked it, and yada, yada, yada.
Yep, will do. So I will say before I went over to this, I have read all of them in advance, and you guys came up with some really good questions for him. I got to say, in the time I've known him as my father, you've got one of the most interesting lives probably I've ever encountered some of the strangest people, some of the coolest people. Like, there's a lot to cover with you. So
it was said once, musicians live complicated lives, and they sure do.
That's an understatement of the century. Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to come along to do this, just to kind of have a discussion. We're both night owls. We're up in the late hours all the time talking about this kind of stuff.
It's like 11:30 at night or something
doing it right now. So yeah,
I've been trying to make this happen for
just what we
a
do.
good little bit now. So
yep. So I guess we'll hop into it, and it's a kind of a nice segue because this first question that comes from your good friend Shells actually has to do with me in some kind of regard, and she wants to know about co-parenting and what are the struggles and successes of doing it.
Yeah, and that's something I get asked a lot because everybody's seen how good you turn out, and they've seen how me and your mom have been able to keep a good friendship and relationship through it all. And honestly, if I have to give anybody any advice on that, it's like if you're getting divorced or whatever, it's probably one of the more serious questions, but it would be make it so it's all about the kid and it's nothing about money. Money is what makes everything go to hell when you start, trying to, yeah, and nobody should, unless somebody's abusive, either uh, mentally or physically to the child or either spouse. I don't think anybody should be kept away from their children. If you're a good person, treat them good, and things just didn't work out, then I don't think there should be a problem with that. That's the type of stuff that screws kids up. So that's the first thing I say. Don't make it about money. Try to be a good, fair person and remain friends. And the other thing I always do is I give all the credit in the world to my wife, Casey, because she could have been like, I see some of these people were like, well, you ain't going around her, or she's not coming over here, and blah, 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 blah. And she's never been like that. It's always been about what was going to be good for him and make him so he wasn't screwed up. So, I give her like 99.9% of the credit because she's the one that has been really cool about, us spending holidays all together and that sort of thing. So make that stuff happen. Put your ego in the back seat and, definitely try to have the best relationship you can, if you're co-parenting, like that, and if you have your kid, under the same roof, when you're lucky enough to have that kind of relationship, when you're talking about just co-parenting in that sense, same deal, spend time with your kid, do things with your kid, talk to your kid, communication is like 90% of anything. So that's probably the best way I can answer that one. And I think you've benefited from all that as well.
Yeah, I just let's say I regard that I've been raised by a ton of people in my life, but of the three main ones who raised me, being him, my mom, and Casey, the way that they've coordinated their life to make it the best for me that they could, helped my childhood so much. And I went to school with people who had parents who had divorced, be it that they just didn't talk anymore, like you said, they didn't have good communication. I know people at work, not with divorce necessarily, but with parents who died, and I see some of the stuff that they deal with and how it's turned out. And I just really look on this about how fortunate I am that everything worked out the way that it did. And, it's you and mom don't see each other a whole lot, but
especially now since you've gotten older.
Yeah, since I've gotten older, which is bound to happen. But I always try to make it a priority during the holidays, especially that she come over and visit at least once, just because I like to have everybody together,
Yeah,
at least once, because so much of my
of
time is
course.
spent splitting between coming over here, going to
Yeah,
her house,
and that's the thing. That's the thing. The hardest thing that is because I've really only got half of your life. Whereas if we were still on our same roof, I would have been with you every day. So
Mm-hmm.
that's been the hardest, the most challenging thing about it. But besides that, it's been great. And I think it does good for everybody having some time away and everything, and then that makes it everything fresh and fun all the time.
Yeah, and it is weird though, because one of my weirdly enough, one of my earliest crystal clear childhood memories, and I've talked about it with mom before, and it's so weird because so weird to me that this moment has stuck in my head all these years. I remember vividly the day that you went to pick her up from the hotel. When she was
Yeah, when we
trying
were
to
going through,
decide
when
when
she
you were
was
going
figuring
through
it right.
making it. And I remember her walking out those doors, and me being at the time probably like 4 years old, you know, I just was thinking to myself, I was like, why is mom coming out of this building? I was like, what's because to me that idea was completely foreign,
Right.
at the time.
Well, you're a little kid.
So all these years later, figuring out the significance of that place, and what was going on at the time,
Yeah, you mentioned every time we ride by there.
every time when I've read by with you and when I've read by her with her, because like I said, it's just such a strange thing to me that this one building and just this one memory I have of her walking out those doors, like I didn't have any idea at the time, but that memory completely
Well, that's when everything changed for
my
you.
life,
Yeah.
and I didn't even know it back
Right.
then, but it all worked out tremendously. I'm so grateful for the way I've been raised. You know, I'm very sort of I don't know what the word is, bashful, I suppose. Whenever I get complimented by people, mostly through them, they tell me about how great of a person I am, and I can't say that it's because of me. I owe pretty much everything I am. I
Sure it
believe.
is.
Yeah, but I just feel like I owe so much of everything I am to you guys and how you've brought me up and how you've treated me and how accepting you've been of me as well. Just
Hey, when I used to sing that "Best Boy in the Whole World" song to you, that wasn't crap. I always felt that way, and I still feel that way. So, and I think most parents feel that way about their kids. So,
yeah,
but that's awesome.
absolutely.
All right, what we got next?
So next question comes from Kathy, and she says, "What made you want to start music, and what were your biggest influences?"
Start music. I gotta give credit to that to my brother and sister a
Mm.
lot because I have a couple of vivid memories with them. I remember being up late one night and watching a show back then called The Midnight Special. And a band I still really love, but they were a pop band for the time. The Bay City Rollers were on there. And I was watching it with my sister. And that crowd was going absolutely bananas for them, particularly the ladies. And I do love ladies. And that's
Yes, we know.
one thing, if you know me well, and if you know me really, really well, I do love ladies, and I was like, that looks like a pretty good gig. And it was like right around the same time. It seems like it was a weekend day. My brother was home and was watching A Hard Day's Night by the Beatles.
Mm.
And it'll always be in my memory of them running down that street with all the kids behind them and all the young ladies screaming after them. I was like, that definitely is a good gig. So it started out that way. And then when I got into the more rockin' stuff, I discovered like Zeppelin, AC/DC, Van Halen, bands like that in the late 70s, early 80s. Then it became more about, okay, this is a whole thing. This is a whole attitude and uh, way to get aggression out and all that type of thing. So, you know, that's what made me get into this, seeing those type of things and seeing that, like, this is really cool. Having other people appreciate what you do. There's no better feeling for it. It's better than any feeling in the world. Uh, Sex, needing to go to the bathroom and you finally hit the bathroom. I don't care what the feeling is. It's when you have a crowd that digs what you're doing, you're immediately hooked, and it's like the best feeling ever. So, what was the second part of it?
Just the biggest influences. Which
I gotta start out with both them bands starting out because I got everything Beatles and Basie Rollers, and they got me going. And then then it was the AC/DC, Zeppelin, Van Halen. I wasn't oddly enough. I wasn't a Sabbath guy till later on, till like the mid '80s. But those bands there, were definitely the earliest influence for me.
I'm just stuff I'm thinking about while you're talking. Like, you really did. Like, I bet there were just so many people that were in that same sort of time frame as you that discovered all that. Like, it was like
the same way, yeah.
And there was like that. It was a perfect period for musical inspiration because, like, those who don't know, like, my music tastes are very in line with his and with my mom's because I was brought up on like them
He
listening.
likes good music.
Yes, and like it's so frustrating being surrounded by people my age who like I'll say people like like, oh, that's David Lee Roth. Who? I'm just like, no, like, how do you not know?
Yeah, he showed his high school class. I'll never forget this video of Eddie Van Halen doing a guitar solo, and nobody had ever even heard of him, and they were like, oh, I didn't know somebody could play guitar like that.
But the teacher knew, and it was hilarious.
Like, oh my god!
Yeah, because the presentation was on it was a geography presentation, and I did one on the Netherlands, and there was a part where you could talk about like famous people that came from the Netherlands, and I read that the Van Halen brothers had been born there. And I was like, well, who better to show that? And so I looked across the room, like all the students were just like dumbfounded, and I looked at the back and I see my teacher, and he's like getting into it. Yeah, he's like getting into it. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, but like I'm just thinking about it, how that period is so like, if there was a time and place to get inspired to make music, it was that, like like I said, like the late '60s into like the early '90s. So that's just the period I listen to. Like, I collect CDs, and at my house, if you just look at them, like, I bet if I were to take an average person into my room, like my age, and they'd look at them, they probably wouldn't have a clue who like 90% at least of
it was so weird how it's progressed too, because it started out with those bands, and then I got real into Motley Crue, Metallica, Rat, Poison, all those '80s bands, and just anything that would have been in Headbangers Ball back in the day. So, and it's still progressing. I mean, I find new stuff all the time. I like. Yeah. So what's next?
Next question
answered that one. Okay.
Comes from Debbie, and she wants you to talk about your love for music and what it takes to be a good singer.
Oh man, it is love for music. I mean, it's hard to even describe in words. It's just all the best parts of my life. I've all had music involved with them in some form or another. And it's so weird, just like hearing a certain song will take you right back to what was going on at that time, or if you have a certain memory or that sort of thing. I mean, music just captures life so good. And, I couldn't imagine a world without music in it. And it's just, I mean, like I said, it's almost indescribable what it's meant to me and how good it's been to my life and the people it's brought into my life, especially. Can't say enough good about that. So, and then what was the second part of that?
Just what do you think it takes to be a good singer?
To just practice. How they
very
the old
strong
saying,
diaphragm too.
The whole saying is what is the guy practice 10,000 hours or 100,000 hours, or whatever it is. I mean, it's the truth. It's practice, and so some specific things. Learning how to breathe, learning how to properly use your diaphragm. So many people just sing from here, and if you don't sing from your soul, I call it almost, and use your breath to help you, and do exercises There's countless places online you can go to do free vocal lessons, all that, and plenty of people locally and in Hagerstown at the Music Institute and all that uh, teach vocals in college if you're somebody going to be a student and everything. But just practice. That's what it takes. It's tons of practice. And one of the most frustrating things when you're in a band about being a singer or in any position in a band is you got to rely on those other 4 or 5 or how many of you people there are to it isn't just on your shoulders, and when you're a singer, you're so reliant on the people around you, and the people around you, like anything else in the world, it's there, as you can see Tori's butt, but it's all about the people around you, and uh, you know, they make you better. So definitely, people around you that you surround yourself with, and practice, practice, practice.
You made me think of that one quote of Bruce Lee's where he said, like, I do not fear the man that's practiced 1,000 kicks. Or 1,000 kicks once. I fear the man who's practiced one kick 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like keeping that one thing progressively makes it better,
Hey.
It's just something I thought of when you were going. We go to the next one from Ken, and he wants you to know, when did you discover Bigfoot, if you're a believer, and what the most compelling evidence for it is, and what do you think it is?
Oh my goodness! For those who don't know, I'm really into paranormal stuff, supernatural, cryptids, UFOs, ghosts. I love all that stuff. Fascinates me. I could sit and drive people crazy watching them type of shows for hours. I think I started out watching the old show In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy back in the 70s, and that's what got me fascinated. And that's probably where I saw the first stuff about Bigfoot. And the sad thing about it is, I think still the most compelling evidence is the Patton Gimlin film from back in it was the 60s, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
And I still think that's probably the best evidence. I've seen a million different shows about it. As far as what do I think it is, as I've seen different things about, I think that it's either some kind of door in time that's opening and letting part of the past, it's like where the past and present meet, and for brief periods of time you are glimpsing into that. I think it's either something like that or has something to do with aliens, possibly. Could be, the whole unfound species and all that, but I just think it'd be so hard.
Like, how could you miss finding a
to that? Yeah, so hard for that to be around. But then again, the world is really a lot bigger than we think it is.
Yeah, I was thinking your whole.
And I just think there's definitely places we haven't seen, we don't know about, and I think it even if, say, 90% of the sightings and all were BS or hoaxes or whatever, there's still 10% of the stuff out there that's like makes you scratch your head and wonder, what is it? So I don't know. It'd be cool in my lifetime if they found out, what the deal was. That's for sure, because it's definitely interesting.
Like they might have already, and they're just keeping it.
And I'll probably do an episode. Might even have Ken, because I know he's a big freak on that stuff. Might have him over and talk about all that, and just really hash it out and think about all the different ideas involved with that, because it's definitely an interesting subject.
So, like I just said, it could be a situation too where they do know, but they just haven't.
Well, that's just the thing too.
Wasn't that what was on the other day?
That's what they were just having the UFO hearings, because they're revealing that the government's known all along a lot more than they're letting on. So
yeah. I'm just thinking about your your whole doorway to time explanation. I like that one too, but like that could just as well explain the stuff with the Loch Ness monster.
Well,
You're actually
it could
seeing.
also explain, if in the future we've discovered time travel
Mhm.
and they've used up natural resources, them traveling back to our time to get, that would explain a lot of all that stuff.
Besides, there's so many questions
Because there's, we worry about the space and all that, but there really is so much still to the world unexplored, the oceans, tons of stuff. So
weren't we watching was one of the Bond movies recently? There was a quote about that.
it was the one where they had the undersea thing.
Oh, it was The Spy Who Loved Me recently.
Yeah, he was saying about how
like
they're worried about space and all that, but there's so much of the oceans that
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's unknown,
Yeah, but like I'm just thinking about the whole door to time thing. Like, that means that either like say like the Loch Ness monster could actually be a prehistoric dinosaur that people are seeing, and that instead of it being something that's lived in the ocean in that lake all this time,
used to live there.
It's something that like something appears, it
same
comes
concept.
through it goes back through, vanishes. It's like, and then Bigfoot could be like primitive humans.
And that would make sense because it wouldn't be some small coincidence that there's been several different lakes around the world where they've seen that type of phenomena. So,
I say you believe in it, I believe in it, and my reason when people ask,
I believe it's all something. I believe we just don't know what.
Yeah, like, and when people like tell me they're like, oh, it's like silly that you believe in something like that, and I'm like, well, look, here's the thing. Even if it's not real, like the idea of it makes the world a whole lot more interesting.
Yeah,
and strange.
It brings a little bit of magic into the world.
Like I had that happen with and there's a question coming up about this later, but I was on a trip in high school to Gettysburg once, and I just kind of happened to say, I was like, I wonder if we'll see any ghosts. And my friends at the time in high school like kind of like laughed in my face. They're like, what do you mean ghosts? Like, I was like, oh, I don't know. I was like, I'd like to be inclined to think that there's something, just think it's interesting.
All right, what's next?
Okay, we're on to page 2, and you've got one from Harris. Interesting turn. He wants to know about suicide prevention.
He just wants me to talk about it. Well, I mean, I've always looked at being online and all that as not only a good tool to learn and communicate with others and everything, but to also share your story. And if I can share something about myself that could possibly help or inspire somebody else, I want to do that because that's what life's about. I think is helping other people. I think if you go through life and you help people, then you're going to end up having a well-rounded, good life. So I think helping people is a 100%, what life is about. So I've always made it no joke or no secret that I put problems I've had with my own anxiety and depression out there in hopes that it could help others or other people may be able to communicate to me and help me. And that always has. Putting it out there, sometimes just talking about it is, the way to do it. And I would encourage anybody, if you know somebody you think is going through it or that is giving you any kind of weird signs or you're questioning, I wonder if, it might be a good idea to have a conversation with them and definitely point them in the right direction of getting help. Because I think going and talking things out, because I've been through some low places from, be it marriage problems, financial problems, which is always a big one for everybody, physical problems, just all kinds of things that can make you spiral down and get depressed. I think getting help and talking about it is the most important thing. And if you see somebody you fear is in a bad way, to talk to them about it and try to get them to seek help. Do everything you can, So, if I got to say anything about that, it's that educate, yourself if you're dealing with it. Don't be afraid to reach out to others. Stay around people that care about you. I think that's one of the most important things you can do when you're going through anything. And, you know, just don't be afraid to seek out help and help others who are dealing with it.
Like, something I was just thinking about with it too is a big motivator I've thought, because like, you know, I hate the idea of having only one life and then just like wasting it for nothing,
Right.
and like not doing anything meaningful with it. Because actually it was in the Rebels episode we watched earlier. Harris said something along the lines of like, a life, where you don't help others is no life at all, or something like that. Or not just help others, but doing something, I guess,
Yeah.
making a
That's
difference.
what it's
And
all
like,
about, man. I'm telling you.
and my whole thing has always been like, the world is just so big and beautiful and full of just so many things, and I would hate, like, no matter how bad things in my own life could get, like, I'd hate to just like waste it in an instant and not be able to see and experience it all.
And I know, just like, it don't matter where either, because I have, I've caught flack before being a guy that was a youth minister a lot, but also sang in bands and that whole lifestyle. But I have definitely ministered to more people at a bar seat than I ever did in a church.
Mm.
So I'll leave with that. It's not the where, it's the what, and the who.
Mm-hmm.
So
And the how.
yeah,
Too. Yeah.
so definitely. I'll try to remember to throw uh, one of the suicide hotlines in the comments too, in case anybody's seen this and they're thinking, well, Brett, that lights make me sweat. Uh, he said that might be a good idea to go talk to somebody.
So we get another question from Ken now, back to him. This one's a bit cheerier. He wants to know, what was your first action figure, or specifically your first Star Wars figure, and other fandom?
Well, I can remember probably first action figure would have been one of the old GI Joes, the 12-inch ones. I had a dude that had no beard and I still have him, I think, up in my one trunk upstairs. He had no beard and red hair, and he talked. He had a string that you pulled and talked. He was my first figure that I remember. I might have other stuff while small on that, but and then like some of the lines I had when I was a kid, I had the big gym playset that had the big camper van, and they did like outdoor adventures and stuff like that. And I had the Johnny West playset, which I still had the horses and the dolls upstairs. Uh, so I had a lot from that line. Um, One of the coolest times I got a birthday present. They got me the Native American that goes to that set, and they had him sitting on his horse, all dressed up in the headset and everything else. When I came out with my birthday from a birthday cake, and it's on film somewhere. But that, and then when I got into Star Wars, of course, back then it was just the little 3 3/4 rubbery guys that had the lightsabers in their arm and that. But and at the time they were really hard to get. So I remember painstakingly trying to get them all. But I'm pretty sure the first one of those I got was 3PO, and he's well played with and glued and everything else. The one I have upstairs of him. So, but I eventually got the main, what was it, 12 when it started, and then he sent away and you could get the free Boba Fett. So yeah.
When did you get the big Star Trek playset with all the 6-inch doll ones?
Probably was 7 or 8, 9 years old, somewhere around there. And I had all the Mego. I had a lot of Mego figures when I was a kid.
So growing up, I remember seeing it on the shelf, and
Yeah,
I thought it was really cool.
I still got. It's not my original though. I got a copy years back, maybe 10, 15 years ago. But I still have the original figures. So yeah.
I was trying to think of my own. I don't think I can remember a Star Wars one specifically. I'd have to look better at that. But I do have something I do still own. Was, I think, for Easter one year, you and Mom got me like a like army battleship with like planes or something, and there was a little. It was when I was very young, and there was a little blue soldier, like moved his elbows and stuff.
I think I remember.
He was like a navy blue. I still have him downstairs. He's in kind of rough looking shape, but it's good. But then another figure that I thought of that means kind of a lot to me is I guess it was like a 3-4 inch GI Joe. Came with like this weird pod and like some accessory weapons or whatever. And I remember as a kid when I was playing pretend with all of my guys downstairs, I made him like my main character, and it was him, and then I gave him a katana, like a ninja sword from like a ninja set that I had, and then I had a moose, like one of the little plastic animal figurines that you would get at Tractor Supply. I had a couple of those, and I made the moose the thing that he rode around on, like the animal that he rode around on, and then well, then what I ended up doing.
Yeah, I think I remember that too.
Yeah, I still have it all. But then what I ended up.
Here's our big boy Lucas, everybody.
Yeah, he
There's
came to say hello.
Came to say hello.
But what I want to say,
this is either.
Yeah, it was special. That figure is special to me because when I was just doing my advanced writing stuff in college for my fiction writing class, I was kind of stuck and looking for something new to write about, and I decided to write a story, just something short about him. So I made his name.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling me about that.
I made his name Clinton because right around the time I discovered, or that I was doing this, I discovered Clint Walker. You know who that is? He was an old actor, like real big guy, and he looked like that, like really tall. And I thought of him, and then for the moose, I thought it would be terribly funny to have a moose named Horace.
Where's the moose?
Yeah, because it sounds like horse. So horse, but it's Horace. So his name is Horace, and the story is he's like a bounty hunter, and he finds this this like tentacle monster, other bounty hunter that I used my Kit Fisto action figure to, and they have a fight around a fire. And apparently, I think I wrote that the Kit Fisto ate a baby, and that's why he was. Yeah, I was like, what's the most messed up thing you could get for like a villain to do? And I was like, eat a newborn child was what I thought.
Oh my god, that was in the paper.
That it was in the story. It was like a 6-page story. Well, most of the people in my class, the people laughed at it because of just how absurd it was.
Ate this baby.
He just ate the baby. I knew it'd be funny too. My only complaint, or not complaint,
what did the teacher say?
Well, he thought the same thing. It was just kind of a funny, like, but like interestingly enough, the only real
criticism. Man, that kid's messed up. They talking about.
Well, you know what I told you? He said about me once, right? I submitted another story. One of my favorite short story I wrote, Temple of the Hair, and after I had done a slight revision of it, I submitted it. 3 of the people in the class had read it already in a prior state. The teacher was the first time, and he gets around to his part where he talks about me, and he was like, "I really just admire your imagination." And I kid you not, he says, "Sometimes it makes me wonder if you have an LSD problem." That's what he said to me.
Imagine.
Yeah. And I was like, no, I don't have an LSD problem. I was like, I just try to think of just strange stuff that nobody, wouldn't. Because he was like, you've got a bow that fires paint, and it makes a hair that's alive and can move around. And there's a half shape-shifted druid that's between a rabbit and a man. And like he was fascinated. It was like oddly enough, as weird of a compliment as it was, it's one of the best compliments about my writing that I've ever gotten from anybody. Because it means that like what I'm doing is original, and what I'm doing, is something
right.
But I wanted to share that about because I liked that little short story. The only complaint he had about it.
Cool you did that.
Yeah, the only critique he had was that it was too thin, and that he would have liked the world to be more developed. But it was like rushed thing. I was like, I'll just get something on paper just to put it out there. And I had the Kit Fisto's guy's mouth open, like the watcher in the water, where the teeth were curled up underneath like this, and they came out like this. Mm-hmm. That's how I had I was trying to make him look really grotesque, and like you picture them all like that eating the kid,
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's still somewhere.
You have to save it.
Yeah, I got it on the computer somewhere. So what are we at? We're back to Kathy. Once more, biggest role models that you have, and did you want to do music initially, or did you have another plan of what you wanted to do?
Oh, it's.
I mean, you've wanted to do music
honestly,
all your life.
entertaining people in one way or another has always been the only thing I've ever wanted to do. I once entertained the idea of owning my own gym. I still think that would have been a cool thing to do, or get into because I had personal trainer credentials at one time, and uh, obviously they're way out of date now because especially with technology. But I always thought something involved with working out, and that would have been a cool uh, another area to done something with. And then as I've gotten older, I realized I should have, I probably would have been a really good teacher. So I've thought about all those things. Um, what did I always?
Did you always want to do music initially, or did you have something else that you wanted to do first?
I honestly, like when I was in high school, I got talked into applying for a scholarship by my guidance counselor because I had no college plans whatsoever, and I got the scholarship. So I thought, well, it'd be kind of dumb to go to, to get a scholarship and not go. So I ended up going, and I just took business because I figured business, is pretty well in everything. So, uh, but no, man, I really I didn't have a plan, especially back then. I mean, I was so into partying and women and the whole deal, and I just it was about when the next party was and who all was doing it with, and that was like what my life revolved around when I was younger. So I had no plan. That's probably why music really. I mean, especially at my level, isn't even really a plan to tell you the truth. It's just a weekend warrior type of deal. Anymore any delusions of the big time or anything that been out the window for about 25 years now. Not that it was ever really in the window. Just always wanted to be a big fish in a small pond, and I think I'm that already.
You're pretty much that now.
So,
yeah. I was going to say locally, you're extremely well known.
But it is what it is. I'm definitely not the best, but I don't think I'm the worst either. So
no.
What else we got?
You got right here from Cheryl. She wants to know what you'd change if you could go back in time.
I want to say I'd change a lot, but I wouldn't change anything. It's one of them type of deals. There's a lot that I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't go through everything. I would have taken school a lot more serious and been a better student. That's one thing for sure. I would have taken my health a lot more seriously, especially once I hit college. That was the beginning of things starting to go not the right way. Was right after I got out of college, especially in that. And then, it's just escalated one thing after another since then. But those would probably be the main things if I could go back and redo anything. Everything else made me who I am, so I'd do it all again.
Yeah, I tried. Honestly, I'm kind of in the same.
I like where I'm at now, though. I don't really have any desire to go back or anything.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think apart from maybe a couple issues where maybe I ruffled a few feathers that I could have easily not ruffled and saved myself the trouble.
Oh yeah, there's all stuff like that. I wish I would have done this or not said
I would
this
have
or been nicer or handled this differently. Yeah. I mean, you're also stuff like, but all that helps you grow as a person. So
yeah. Most of it's all water under the bridge now, anyway.
Right. So just look forward.
Yep. And kind of going into that, you have another additional question here. Were you bullied? I'm thinking no.
I don't think I was really. I mean, there was stuff when I was a little kid because I've been a big kid my whole life. I weighed like 100 pounds in kindergarten, so I've been a big person my whole life. So I mean, there was always that kind of stuff, but it was never like where it was some kind of massive situation where, I had some stuff when I was in like 8th grade that I kind of went through. It wasn't so much bullying as it was, people being inconsiderate of a situation that I dealt with where I could have lost my life. And you guys that are out there know what I'm talking about, know who you are, by the way. But it's water under bridge. But that bothered me a lot. But not really as far as like what the whole stereotypical bullying situation would be.
Yeah, it's.
I know you went through
your
it.
story and my story differ
Completely
greatly.
different, yeah.
I asked him in the car maybe about a week ago. I was like, Dad, were you like popular in school? And you were like, I was student body president.
Yeah, I was like student body president. So I mean,
it just seems to me like everybody knew you, everybody got along with you, no matter what clique it was, or what.
I liked everybody. I mean, and that's
like
always
real,
how
like
I
man
was,
of the people kind of,
brought up to be.
And I mean, I kind of got like that in high school to an extent, but my middle school years were rough, and like just people thought I was weird. I got laughed at. It was either poking fun at me, or it was just that nobody really wanted anything to do with me.
Well, I think you were on a different level, and we were a lot of kids just didn't understand the type of person you are. I don't know.
I still do think that like when people meet me for the first time, I can come off as a bit overwhelming and maybe not able to be.
Yeah, I think that might have been some of it.
Understood.
Because you were that way a lot when you were a kid. I mean, you were clingy, because you wanted friends and you wasn't around a lot of friends a lot. So, but I mean, you ended up where you were supposed to be and did good for it. So that's all that matters. Lay down, girl.
Yeah, the cat's excited.
She's all kinds of excited because we're out here at the table. But yeah, but you've done good, So you got through it.
Yeah, it's gotten better. I've gotten better, like trying to be less, sort of.
Yeah, and I think pop culture things of like rings and that got you through a lot of the bad times.
Oh yeah.
And I know music has gotten me through a lot of my times I've had.
And ultimately, that's the reason I want to do what I want to do, is because I want to kind of give back to the community in a sense that gave so much to me, and give my work, let it have the opportunity to make that same difference for other people. Because of how much it affected me. But
wow, we're at like 15 minutes already.
Yep, I know, we're rolling right along. From Dave,
my man, Chile.
What age did you learn guitar? And another one. This is another one. What influences?
Oh, age that I started messing with, I guess when I was in like 9th, 10th grade.
Did you get your first real 6-string at the 5 in time?
No, it was from the Sears catalog with a little Sears practice amp. It was a Les Paul copy, and same people earlier like AC/DC, Van Halen, all them, or people that inspired me to do it. First stuff I probably ever learned was like some Judas Priest, or like Iron Man by Sabbath, or Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple, stuff like that. All the easy bar chord songs that everybody and their mom always starts out with. But that, that's kind of stuff I was learning, and it's just I should have stuck with playing more. I had lessons in college, and just never applied myself like I should have. I can mess around. Back when I was into it, I could mess around and fake pretty good. My problem was I could never sing and play good at the same time. So that's why I never really, because I always wanted to sing, because I thought that's what I was better at.
It does make me think, though, like you talked about some of the earlier songs that you think you started learning. It is really great how having a good guitar riff really is like one of the first pinnacles of making a great song.
That's how it, a lot of it
There's
gets
so
started.
many good songs.
And you think, oh, I can write some words that goes with that, and then before you know it, you come up with a tune.
True. All right, this is the one that I alluded to earlier from Cheryl. Do you believe in ghosts? And the short answer is yes. We both do.
I do.
You've seen a ghost.
I've had experiences with them.
They're freaky
myself. And it's another deal where I think if 90% of the stuff out there is crap and 10% makes you scratch your head, then there's probably something, I don't know what it is. I don't know exactly how it works, but I think there definitely is something. There's just been too much evidence, especially in modern days.
I've often wondered if ghosts are the people that are in purgatory. They teach us about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like maybe they're like trapped here to wander the wastes for some reason, or maybe it's like depending on where or how and the manner in which they die.
You got to be there so long, and
they're linked to a place and of course something else I believe in, because part of me sort of has wondered maybe if this is something with me. Like I don't know if I mean, there's a lot of sound like reincarnation stuff too. Like
part of weird experiences people have had.
And there's like a kind of a small part of me that doesn't wonder sometimes if this isn't my first go.
Yeah, if there's something on mine too. I think you're an old soul though. I think really the only thing you don't have together is the whole love life thing. Everything else,
which isn't all my fault.
Right.
A lot of that's situational. I've been saying in regard to that, I feel like
he is single, ladies. Tell your daughters, tell your daughters, sisters, tell your. I try to make things happen for you. I wouldn't think you'd get mad at me. But.
Say he. One time we were talking, he quoted Palpatine, and he was using my knowledge. I beg of you
to use it.
Yeah, but say in regard, I feel like Sisyphus from Greek mythology. You roll the boulder up the hill only for it to come down. Every time somebody I get interested in, oh, they're taken. Oh, they're, homosexual. Oh, they're underage. Like, it's one thing after another. Like, oh, they're talking to somebody. It's just, like, and I'm like, every time.
I always think that the advice, I think, was maybe like Hugh Hefner or somebody gave.
Oh, great. Hugh Hefner. But the man surrounded
he was talking about getting over breakups one time, and he said the quickest way to get over one relationship is to start 10 others. And I think that's dating too. It's like ask out 10 different people. Somebody will say yes sooner or later.
Interesting.
Huh. You got to use like mathematics with it.
Yeah, odd advice from
percentages. I think it was him or somebody, or one of the guys in Playboy, or I don't know who's in charge of all that. But
I will warn you, like I said earlier, though, I'm a very complicated case.
You're fine.
I feel like I'm very alien for somebody my age. That's fine. All.
You need confidence, and
I'm bad with that.
You're a good-looking fellow. You don't believe in yourself enough. That's your biggest issue.
I don't know. I guess time will tell. My hope has just been that the good man upstairs is saving someone really special for me to make
it'll happen.
To make my labors worth it.
Get your career and all together first, then worry about it. You got plenty of time. You're at 22 now, so
yeah, I am.
All right, what's next?
Sucks though. You've got, if you could be in any band, past or present, who would it be and why?
It would be my band, Shattered Glass, that I was
with Hayden Christensen,
that I went to Myrtle Beach with Stuart Walsh, Joe Yost, and Rob Litton. I would like to be in that band with that talent, knowing then what I know now and being the singer I am now that I wasn't then.
So it'd be like a Days of Future Past situation where Logan's brain is put in his younger body.
If I could have that band back, which was extremely talented, and we had the whole 10,000 hours thing, and that it's just, we didn't know anything about production or stuff like that. We were just starting out. I had that band, and I'm always looking for union guys. If any of you guys would happen to see this. Just putting it out there. But that's the band it would be. No, I wouldn't want to be in the Beatles or no, I don't want to be in any of them bands because they wouldn't be who they are without the people that's in them. So I don't really think like that when it comes to them sort of things. I'd like to meet some of those people, but as far as like, you want to be, the fifth member of Black Sabbath or, nah. I'll be who I am.
So it's really, you'd like to make another band that you had become the best version of itself, as Matt Kelly used to say.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good answer. This is another one linked to our discussion we were just having about relationships. Can people fall in love without meeting?
Absolutely. I think you can fall in love pretty easy. Especially if the communication's good and somebody's being straight, which it's so hard to tell these days with the internet and all that. But definitely. I think people can meet for one time and you'd be like, oh my God, I love that person. I definitely think it could happen. I think communicating, be it what way, phone, internet, whatever, you can be in love with what's inside a person and that. And, even just seeing limited pictures and all that, and hopefully they're who, it says they were in a picture. But I definitely believe that's a possibility. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I sort of misread the question earlier because...
And he was like, huh?
Because first, like, I didn't realize it meant, like, you could just talk to a person back and forth over text without actually physically meeting. My brain went to, like, could you fall in love with somebody who doesn't know that, like, you exist? Or, like, that has never met you?
I think there's people all the time that's, I see that girl at the coffee shop, man, and you're, like, thinking, man, and she's waited on you or whatever, and she don't know.
Like, you can imagine.
But you're thinking in your head, man, she is just it. And that. Yeah, I think stuff like that. It might not be the deep love that, I think it takes finding the right person to know what love really truly is, which I didn't find out till the past 16, 17 years I've been with Case. But I think once you find that and you got that, then you're like, this is what it is.
So I've been in that situation in my own life.
That infatuistic love that people absolutely.
Yeah, like, I think about people that I've had crushes on in the past, one or two. I always joke that there's only ever really been a handful of girls in my life that have absolutely swooned me, like smitten me, like swept me off my feet. It's only happened a couple times.
And I knew who some were.
And it's like, like you wonder what life could be like with that person. I mean, because it's like you believe at that point in time, they have everything.
Not knowing.
They have everything that you feel that you're looking for in someone, and you see some sort of value in them, and thinking that they would be able to love you and understand you and accept you for who you are. Like, it's an interesting thing to think about.
Right.
And so we got another interesting one. It says, if issues with your health, like your legs and money, were not an issue, what would you do with your life?
If I had money and had my health where, I was able to get around and not have trouble and stuff like that, it would be all about seeing the world, love travel. I'd love to go see places that, historical, vacation, you name it. I think that would be a really cool thing to do. I wouldn't want to be doing it all the time because I do love home and all that. But oddly enough, I don't think I'd change much about the house. I might get a truck, but I wouldn't change. I like our house. I don't think I'd go nuts like some people do.
It's just the right size.
If you had money and all that, I think I'd just be content with who I am and then just go enjoy myself. I would definitely have my own like studio and that sort of thing, and redo what I could with the dungeon downstairs, and That's what we call it, because weightlifting in our practice room. We call it the dungeon.
Well, it suits because we call this the Pop Culture Palace. So that would be the dungeon. That would be the dungeon.
But yeah,
with the begging child's down there.
But that's what I do. I'd travel.
Yeah,
hopefully with you and Casey.
I'd love to travel in the future, like go to different countries, just see places. How different.
We'd have to get her fear of airplanes to go away, but
has she ever been on a plane?
No shit.
So say I've been on one twice, there and back from Florida. It was fine.
It's a total act of faith, but once you get that out of your head and you just look at it, I'm in like this room.
Thinking back, I wonder how much of a nervous wreck. Do you remember Mom ever talking to you about how much of a nervous wreck she was taking me on the plane when we went to go see?
I think I remember something about that.
Because I mean, like I was like 8.
She worries about everything.
I was like 8 or 9 though. Well, yeah, I know, but I was like 8 or 9, and she's like, "I'm gonna take my 8-9-year-old son in a big mechanical monstrosity that's gonna travel miles and hours over."
It's like the ultimate act of faith, I think. Because if something happens, there ain't a damn thing you can do. Mm-hmm. So you just gotta go with the people know what they're doing, which is scary these days. But
yes.
Anyway, what's next?
Would you go live with aliens for a week?
Absolutely.
Yes.
What if they were going to bring me back and all that?
But the good, especially if it was the Doctor.
Oh yeah, if
the Doctor, if it was the Doctor, then yeah,
because he can bring you back right where you left off. So
yeah, and he would do it willingly too.
I could go stay with him for 2 years. So
you might have a couple,
especially if I could understand them and stuff and all that. I think I'd be scared if they took you and locked you in a room or something like that. But if it was a thing where they would want to learn about you and you about them, and you could learn a lot. Yeah, I'd absolutely do it.
And you think, right, that there's probably multiple different alien groups.
I would imagine. I kind of link it to our culture. Just look at the world. Look at how many different, ethnic groups of people there are in the world, and who's to say that they all wasn't from a different branch from somewhere up there, and that's how we all came together on this.
It's really crazy to me how we all started off in relatively the same place and then migrated in different directions, and then things like exposure to the sun, weather, climate conditions, whatever.
But just think, even though we all basically looked the same, had the same hand, 10 fingers, 10 toes, 2 eyes, blah, 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 but, they're, different colors, different looks, different eyes, so, I wouldn't be surprised if every, I'm not saying there couldn't be things out there that look crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised if everybody would look a lot like us, just a little bit different,
Mm-hmm.
But,
sure. Okay, that was aliens.
What we got next?
Who is your hero and why?
Hero. So many. One person I really look up to, and I just watched his Netflix special, and I had looked up to him since I got in lifting with, is Arnold. Dude has accomplished so much in his life, and mastered 3 different things. I mean, so many people just don't even master one thing in your life. You just get a job, you work it, and you're thankful for whatever you do in your leisure time. But I mean, he is just bodybuilder, politician, actor, and got to the top as far as he could go in all 3 areas. So he's a big one I admire. But I admire a lot of people. I mean, there's so many good people that have done amazing things. So that's really a hard question to answer. Most people probably think I would come, a music person or something like that. But there's people that do things that make a difference with diseases or helping others, or just anybody that I admire anybody that knows what they want to do, applies themselves to that field, and then goes out and does that, achieves that, and strives to be the very best that they can be every day and be a good person while doing it. If you do that, I think it's a win-win situation. You're not going to be a failure. So that's the type of people I admire.
I think Arnold's a good choice though, because he's another one that I always joke like. There's certain people out there that like finish the main quest line,
And then start
and now they
another one.
just do side quests their whole life, and he's one of them. You know,
And has he made mistakes? Sure. You know, he had that skefuel with his marriage and
he's human though.
different things,
that's what it is.
And you know, but that's all part of it.
I was actually watching a video today of James Cameron talking about, I guess it was a making of the first Terminator, and he and Arnold were both on it talking about how he got the part of Terminator, you know,
Mhm.
and like director, he was talking about how like when they were having this conversation about meeting, he was looking at the way the light hit his face and how well it looked, like you know,
Yeah, because the way he's kind of like has that
from
chiseled look about him.
And Arnold didn't want to play him at first. He said he didn't want to play a villain.
Yeah, he wanted to play the hero.
Yeah, but then James Cameron just said, "Go home and think about it." And he went home, thought about it, and then he came back to him a few days later and said that, you know, as he was reading the script, he kept picturing himself more and more, and then eventually, you know, took the part. I just thought it was really cool, you know.
Yeah, it's
and I think it wasn't his birthday recently too.
I think so.
He was 77. I think I seen
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's done so much.
But I mean, if you, I had the DVD here somewhere, and this is dated because it was back from Newbie Pumping Iron, and it went to list like it was like a online resume type thing with pictures, and just going down the list of things that he's done, it was like mind blowing. So he's a good one. That's you know, somebody that's like the everyday relatable person, but there's tons of other people I know that are better than him as far as what they've done with their life and helping people. And you know, not that he doesn't do charity work and all, but
didn't he like his background come from people telling him he wasn't going to make it?
He was poor. So
yeah, like look at him. Look at him. Yeah.
So definitely the story of the American dream.
It's a wonderful story. Another one from Ken, just really straight. How did you get into metal? I mean, you kind of said it a little earlier, but
my neighbor Craig Bradley, if you're out there watching, I'll give you some credit for this. He was into it and would come hang out, and we would listen to a lot of AC/DC and Zeppelin and that, and then when I really started to get into like metal, it was like I was up playing basketball on a weekend at St. Pete's, and somebody, probably Eric Mallon, had a boombox there, and they had a Van Halen one, and I heard that, and I was just like, "What in the hell was this?" And I was hooked. Went out and got all their stuff like next week, and I had it all on album back then, and you know, just and from there it just became like more bold, you know, who else is similar and all that, and who else is new coming out. And so yeah, it was just it was like that. But definitely, you know, there's always, you know, you always got people around you usually that are the technician for getting you into it, you know. Like anything else, you know, sports or whatever.
Funny side story, but wasn't Van Halen also the group you were listening to when the lady on the beach gave you that really backhanded compliment?
Oh yeah. Well, at least your music's good. I was like, well, thanks a lot. Yeah, you look like shit. You might as well. She might as well said, you look like shit, but your music's good.
Yeah, it was fun. Good lord.
Whatever.
Woman was a savage, whoever she was. Now, second to last question we're at, and it says it's from Dylan, and I was tempted to say, is it Bob Dylan? And
it's not Bob.
Well, it's funny because the question would be funny coming from Bob Dylan.
He's another fellow metalhead I've gotten to know since I've been in Hellfire Empire, at least on Facebook. I'm sure we've been around each other a couple times, but I am horrible with names and faces and that. But
yeah,
he knows who he is.
Well, he wants to know who you think the best current rock band is touring and who's putting out the best music right now.
The rock bands that I've been into in the past, 22 years, 23 years, it's all about all the same suspects on like Godsmack, Disturbed, Rob Zombie, Black Label Society, Avenged Sevenfold, dig some Five Finger stuff, bands like that, and they're all still putting out music and still putting out good music. But the newest person I like that's really incredible is Mammoth with Wolf Van Halen. His stuff is just incredible. I just found out today his second album is being shipped to me. I've had it pre-ordered for a while, and everything I've heard off it, I've loved. So definitely, as far as like a new person, Woofy has my vote. If he don't get like best new artist or artist of the year or something out of all this, then something is definitely wrong, because he has talent and he's done it on his own, not using his dad's. I know some people know him because of his dad, but not. He's totally different from his dad. The music's, even though it's rock and it's still not Van Halen ish, and respect.
So he has a band now called Mammoth 2.
That he contributes like Mammoth WVH. He put his initials at the end of it.
Oh,
so it's kind of like a tribute to
the original
name of Van Halen.
Yeah, with Eddie in it. Yeah, so that's cool.
And it's cool because he's like a bigger guy too. So us big guys can rock.
Yeah, we're at the last question, and this is my favorite one because we get to talk about movies, and I love to talk about movies.
It makes me hark back to, if you guys, the older guys that knew Johnny Carson, holding my hand, the last envelope, and the whole crowd would erupt, and he'd say something like, "May a group of Mexican-eating pigeons fly over top of your car," meaning they would crap over the car. He would say some kind of backhanded comment like that. So, what is the last question? I forget.
It's the top 5 non-DC or Marvel superhero movies.
Oh my God, Larry, my boy Larry Smith, good friends for years. This was a hard one because everything's either Marvel or DC and everything. So I had a big conversation with Casey about it, and I came up with the list, and I wrote them down. I put Hellboy, LeBron Perlman in the first couple of Hellboys. I even like the newer one. Everybody crapped on it. The Crow, Brandon Lee. Still don't think they should be remaking it. I think if they're going to do something, they should do a whole new story. But we'll see what happens with that. The God's doing it. I have liked everything he's been in, at least. I loved Spawn. I love Todd McFarlane's work. I love his work in the action figure world and the comics. So Spawn was good in mine, and it'd be interesting to see when they finally do another version of Spawn, how it'll be with today's technology. I like the movie Wanted, which was a comic. James McAvoy, who plays Professor X in the newer X-Men films. He's a great actor.
He was Mr. Thomas, too, in Narnia.
Yeah, in Narnia.
Funny.
He's a great actor. Love everything
Split.
He's done, pretty much. So I definitely like that movie, and the whole way it's like talking about everyday life being so,
interwoven.
It's just every day is the same old thing, And then I like the Carl Urban version of Judge Dredd as well. So those would be my top 5 non-DC or Marvel. We're going to have plenty of these type things on this channel, non-DC or Marvel superhero movies.
So you did enjoy Sylvester Stallone going at the top of his lungs.
You've been judged, or whatever he said.
Judge. Yeah. So because I've seen clips of Dredd and Spawn, so I don't know much. I watched Wanted once, and I remember the plot was interesting, but I could not stand McAvoy's American accent.
Yeah.
It's just it was the most phony thing to me. I didn't like that, but I
like the story in that movie really good.
Yeah, it was an interesting story, but I can speak for Hellboy and the Crow. Watch the Crow, just stylistically really cool movie to look at. Son of great shots in it.
It's a shame that he didn't live after that
to see
what it's become in pop culture and to reap the rewards, because I think he would have went on to have even a bigger career.
Absolutely, and I still love my favorite.
Perlman, I'm still hoping there's a Hellboy 3.
My favorite scene in Crow is when he goes into the pawn shop and recites Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven, when he knocks on the door. It's great. I like his performance. I like the villains in that movie. There's some great quotes. A lot of good thematic stuff. But Hellboy especially, I just love, especially because they got Guillermo del Toro to do it, and that guy's directing, his vision of how things look is. I especially like the second Hellboy. The first one had some cool stuff in it, like the clockwork guy with the swords, and Hellboy looks cool. Abe Sapien looks cool. Get the lady's name, the fire, but I liked her. There's a moment in the first one that I liked where that agent, the new recruit guy, is talking to John Hurt, and John Hurt's giving him a rundown of the base, and he says something like, then when Adolf Hitler was killed in 1958, and the guy's like, he died in 1945, and John Hurt's like, oh, did he?
Did he?
Yeah, because they're saying that it was a cover up and all that, and then it was Rasputin was the villain in the first one, I think, which was interesting. But the second one, you had that badass Prince Nuada elf with the blonde hair and the pale
I need
white
to rewatch
skin.
him. It's been a while.
The second one has such this cool dark fairy tale. There was the big troll guy.
Another one too, where the characters they had around him working with him made it even more awesome too. Just like any good movie is. It's all about having a good team.
I always get so happy when Doug Jones pops up in one of his.
Oh yeah, he's just girl. I loved him on Star Trek Discovery.
The physicality of him and how they do him up in the makeup, just it's so fascinating. And like I said, honestly, I wouldn't mind having 6 scales of Hellboy and Abe because the designs are so cool for them, and so well done.
I'm sure they're out there.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen them, but.
The question is, did you learn anything new much by listening to the answer to these?
Somewhat, yes, but
most of them you knew. I figure
more or less.
We talk a lot.
Yeah, so. And even so, there was stuff that I'm not necessarily was surprised. I could have figured that kind of stuff.
I figured though, what band would you want to be in might have been the thing that surprised you the most.
Yeah, a little bit, because I know you have so many bands that you like and admire and everything. So it's
Rob, Stu, Joe, 24/7, man. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so let's wrap. We're going to an hour 20 already, so let's wrap this thing up. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you've made it this far, put in the comments Hellfire Empire rules, and that way I knew you made it this far.
With a Z.
yeah. So, or the tank rules or something. But anyway.
Or Mortal Kombat with a C and not a K.
If anybody out there would like to be my guest, I have a couple people in mind. I would really like to have Nick, my predecessor in Angerbox, on because I think there's a big misconception out there. A lot of people, Nick and I don't get along or something, but we get along great. We didn't know each other for the longest time. We get along great. So I'd really like to have him on. And there's tons of people musically and tons of people that have other interests. So, definitely if you would like to come on and sit and us shoot the crap for a little over an hour, I would love to do that. And have you just let me know in the comments or send me a private message. Also, please subscribe to this channel. This is going to be on my other channel, not the Mortal Ringwars channel, but the one that's just under my name, Brett the Tank Downey. So if you would like to be on it or whatever, and on the show, subscribe to the channel, or if you want to just keep watching, subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe and share it and share the video and everything. It really helps out people that are YouTubers. So I'm just over 30 subs right now. So let's see if we can make that number go up, since I'm just starting. Basically, this is going to be the first hard push of this channel. Also going to do some vlog things and vlog some band stuff and different stuff like that. If we go toy hunting or something, possibly maybe even throw one of them on here or something. But just a little bit of everything. So anyway, as I always say, please do one act of kindness this week and help make a difference in someone's life. You never know when that one thing might be the one thing that people need to help them get through a bad situation they're dealing with. And just thanks for watching. Brett the Tank Downey. This is my son Hunter, Crazy H, and we'll see you again. I'm sure he'll be a regular because we got some top 5 and top 10 stuff we'd like to do coming up.
Yeah, so we've talked about a lot of these.
So definitely be kind, love one another. Brett Tank Downey out. Peace.
Farewell, everyone.